Welcome to another daily writing motivation stream. Today, we're going to get not one, not two, but three writing sprints in as we try to see what progress we can make on our stories. If you're one of our regular community members, welcome back to the stream. I love writing with you. What's your goal today? What are you going to try to get done? If you're a new member to the community, welcome. This is a daily writing motivation community where we have writers of all genres and skill levels. Come join us. We're going to do a couple writing sprints and then chat and catch up during the breaks. Welcome. I'm Kauffman, daily writing streamer on a mission to help more writers finish their books. As simple as that. So come join us because we're starting right now. All right. Welcome, ML. Always good to have you joining me, my friend. Hopefully the writing's starting to get a little bit smoother for you. I know, and I think April's going to be such a better month just in general, my friend. So always good to have you join me here. Okay, so you guys can see I am ready. So you guys can see we're just gonna hop into it. We'll catch up more. We'll let some more of our members, everyone hop into the stream. Brianna, happy Thursday, my friend. How's the writing coming for you today? What are you working on? Okay, so I am all ready. I need to finish revising the last chapter. Scarecrow is trapped. Scarecrow got lulled into a trap by a mischievous primate. And now he is trapped in a strange pit somewhere, navigating it with some other characters he's come across. So that's what I'm revising. Come join me. I am already on my end. So we're going to start off our first writing sprint, 25 minutes. You know the drill. Whether you are brainstorming, writing, editing, working on author branding, or anything of that like, come join us. And I even have some more music today. So come join us because it's time to right now. right, writing sprint done. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How did that first writing sprint treat you? Were you able to make any progress that time? Drop a comment. I know I saw a couple new faces. Tiara, I saw you hop in as well. We have a couple friends over on Twitch and the YouTube channel. Always love, love, love seeing that. So, how'd that first writing sprint go? Were you able to make any progress at all? Words, ideas, thoughts, inklings, initiatives, characters. What all came to mind for you, my friends? Is I feel like I'm making some good progress with Scarecrow. I'm actually pretty happy with how this chapter came out. So, with where Scarecrow is at, this is the beginning of this is actually the beginning of the biggest story arc in the first half of the book. I'm when I say biggest, probably I'm saying like the longest because I believe the story arc was originally 10 chapters. I've now been able to condense it into 7. I'm asking myself, I think the next largest or longest story arc is probably the climax of the book. Yeah, so I mean, this is the second longest story arc in the book, where Scarecrow has been captured by a group of primates who are led by a notorious character called the Tiger King. And Scarecrow has he's being held in this pit with some other miscellaneous animals. He's now been reintroduced to Gore the grizzly bear, who's also been captured. Now, in the rough draft, this was when Gore was first introduced. But in the second draft, I wrote a whole introductory scene for Gore a couple chapters back, which I'm so happy about. This is just like so much better. I'm so happy. So I think it works out really well that Gore and Scarecrow had already met, and they are also introduced to another character, the snake, now called King the Snake. So I think I like it. Originally, King, who I had originally called Stretch in the rough draft, I played a much bigger role in the overall narrative. I took him near the end with the other characters, but his personality just didn't match with the main ones. So I decided that I'm going to just keep him as part of this story arc. Yeah, so I think that's important because I wanted to make sure that I spend more time focusing on some of our other characters. So I'm very happy. I'm clearly doing pretty well. Let's see. And it looks like you guys are making some great progress as well. Maddie, I currently trying to work on a monologue towards my ending and can't get a good balance of bleak and optimistic. Maddie, something that I might consider trying, write an ending, so try 2 monologues, write a monologue that is extremely bleak, and then write a monologue that's extremely optimistic. And then ask yourself tonally which monologue sounds like it's closer to the style and the vibe that you want. That'd be my recommendation. And then that might help you figuring out what style of monologue you're trying to go for. But it sounds like you're making some awesome progress there. You're like, I'm at a good 63 pages, which is great. And I have more planned, but I won't be able to move on until I actually figure out that ending out first. Yeah, we have to get the endings to make sure that it's actually the ending we want, right? Mary, that's actually a really smart idea. For everyone, I know, Mary, you're working on your fantasy story, and I know you start off with character building, and then you kind of transition with world building now. I think starting with the crystals and the magic element will actually really work well for your story. I think that's a great call. Yeah, maybe Tara, you need to take like an intentional like writing break. Like maybe you need to just like pull away for 2 weeks from just writing and just give yourself a mental health break. Sometimes that could be really powerful when we're feeling burnt out. Sorry to hear that, my friend. Unfortunately, the highs and lows of life happen to the best of us. Brianna, I really appreciate that. Like, love hearing all the progress and your thought process. Kauffman, absolutely. Everyone knows I could go on chatting about Scarecrow for days. Oh man, I could chat about Scarecrow forever. I have so much enthusiasm for the writing process, and regardless of where I'm at in the process of Scarecrow, I get so excited. And it's like every single part of the book, it's like I kind of feel like I get to re-explore the section of the book that I'm on, and I just get to keep making it better. So I'm really, really happy with how Scarecrow's coming along. About 40 or so percent through the second draft. So it's taken me a couple months to get through the first 30%, but because I had to do a lot more rewriting than I anticipated. But I think the back 50% is going to go faster because the stories is a little closer to what my vision is for the overarching narrative. So I'm pretty happy with that. What's up, White Seer Gaming? Welcome to the stream. I love it. I love that. I love that emoji, by the way. That's actually super cool, White Seer. So welcome, welcome. Always love seeing new writers here in the stream. Why? I would love to hear what you're working on. Welcome, welcome, my friend. You are amongst fellow writers. Yeah, Maddie, I feel like we always have to keep reworking our endings until we kind of get it to that right place that feels just right for us. So it's definitely a process, though, my friend. How do I feel about the ending of Scarecrow? Actually, I am so happy. The ending of Scarecrow came out incredibly. Oh my goodness gracious. It definitely needs a lot of like style. It definitely needs like a lot of style improvements from like a technical line edit level, but narratively and developmentally, the climax of this book of The Last Scarecrow is such a rewarding experience. Like, I just like, I love it. And I know even before getting reader feedback, I just know that it delivers on, you get your final boss battle. There's like 10 to 15 plus reveals that you get on every single character. There's reveals about the magic, the characters. Like you get so many reveals and you are rewarded exponentially. Now, a lot of these reveals, some of them are great, some of them are not so great for the characters, but the ending of The Last Scarecrow is, I really wanted it to be an incredible experience because Scarecrow and friends go through such a challenging, difficult journey. And I think the ending just came out really, really well. Even yeah, even though I haven't looked at it for some time, I know it's came out the way that I intended. So I'll see how I feel once I get back to the climax on this draft. I have no idea how Scarecrow ends. I would love to know. I'm so excited. Yeah, for anybody who's a core community member who's been around for a little longer, I want to say I got to the end of the original draft of Scarecrow last July. I think it was July of 2024 is when I wrote the ending. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't decided if I'm going to do the entire second draft on the stream. I might stop right before the final climactic moment, but I haven't decided yet. Well, we'll see how I feel when I get there. Oh man, incentivize more people to enjoy the world I'm creating. Let's see. White's here. I'm working on a sci-fantasy novel. Such a cool up and coming genre, by the way. That's actually really exciting. And world is based on our Earth, but in the 4000s and based on a rewrite of Shadowrun lore. Sounds really interesting, actually. Sci fantasy is a really popular up and coming genre, and I am such a fan of it. I think if I had more science fiction elements in Scarecrow, it would be a little closer to sci fantasy. Some of the later books in this that I have planned in the series might go more heavily into the sci fantasy subgenre, though, for sure. Hey, what's up, Blinker? Welcome back to the stream, my friend. What are you working on today? Would love to hear that. Love seeing some other writers here in the community. And on that note, if you are enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. We're here every day with the Right Now community. 450 consecutive writing streams and counting. If you're looking for writing motivation, if you're looking for accountability, consistency, we have writers of all genres, of all skill levels, whether you're here in the streams or joining us on the Discord, we got it all. We got sprints, author interviews, critique streams, our book club, an upcoming fiction contest, and so much more. If you are trying to focus and grow your writer skill set, this is the place. So make sure to follow and subscribe. or subscribe, and you'll be alerted when we go live. All right, my friends. So, on that note, let's get into the next writing sprint. So, we're going to hop into writing sprint number 2 of 3. What are we at on time? 40. I think we'll do the next writing sprint at 35 minutes. I feel pretty good about that. So, we'll do the next writing sprint at 35 minutes. And make sure to stick around. We'll chat more and catch up more on the next break. But I will come join you guys in the chat during this sprint as normal. So I think I am all ready on my end. Got to change this to 35. All right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So let's go and perfect. Okay. So I think I am all ready on my end. Let's see. Got to make sure that. All right, perfect. So, whether you are brainstorming, writing, editing, author branding, maybe procrastinating, that's all part of the process. Come join us because it's time to write now. right. Writing sprint done. Writing sprint done. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How did that writing sprint treat you? Were you able to get some progress on your sprints? I know we saw some more writers hopping into the chat. You guys saw where I was at with Scarecrow. I was actually on such a good, I'm such a good roll. I'm really happy with how that chapter came out. That was a good chapter. Yeah, the revisions I've made in the second draft were really smart. Now, Scarecrow is introduced to a couple of recurring characters in this pit. He deal not only is the Scarecrow now captured by the primates, he now has joined he's now formed a pact with Gore, the grizzly bear, who was also captured, a snake, King the Snake, for them to escape. And then I wanted him to almost to try to interact with other animals because he's trying to find his friends, the pixie and the crow. But we see him try to interact and nearly get attacked by a couple different types of animals. A wolf, a large creature, which I wanted to be a giraffe, a bunch of small rodents who basically nearly attack him. And then, of course, he encounters or re-encounters Dr. Fox, who the fox was a really, really interesting character too. I wanted to have this moment where where the fox offered him an escape, and that you like we know from the fox's original appearance that the fox is kind of this like really strange mystical ability, but the fox only allows him one escape and not the others. And Scarecrow is unwilling to escape if he's not sure if the pixie or the crow are there, and then he also won't leave Gore behind now either. So I thought that was a good moment. And then we end off at Scarecrow coming across the rabbit. So it's been a while since we've come across the crazed rabbit character. All the way back from the rabbit was introduced. The rabbit was actually the first other animal introduced in the world outside of the crow, but it was such a small moment, and that's how, yeah, so that was a good callback. Clearly I'm having fun on this part. And now we get to move to a pixie. So we're going to be moving to the Pebble POV chapter. Oh, that's fun. A pixie who's falling to her death, who doesn't remember how to fly. And finally I get to reintroduce the Dragonkin. Woo, I'm so excited. Oh, I love the Dragonkin characters. They're like such like a minor character in the world, but I finally get to play around with the Dragonkin again. Oof, love it. Let's see. How did you guys do though? Let's see. Nice, Morgana. You're obviously making some really great progress, which is awesome. Yeah, you're almost there, Morgana. You're like at such a good pace. Like yesterday was 4,640 words. Today we're a little over 6K. It's like when you're at that milestone, you're almost there and you're like, you got to finish it. That's so awesome, my friend. I know why our like break times, like the writing, I feel like I've made pretty good progress on the writing sprint, and then break times happen. Yeah. Nice. You were able to get 500 words is not bad for you in 30 minutes. That is awesome. That's really, really awesome. I'm glad you were able to get a little productivity in for yourself as well. We have, like I said, you can see in the chat, we have all different styles of writers. So it's awesome to see other types of writers. Yeah, what type of a story are you writing? Let's say, just saw your comment. I'll get there in just a second. Let's see, Maddie, like you have your ending. That was indeed a good idea. Yes, Bazinga. Wonderful. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm glad I was able to help you out, my friend. Morgana, you're like, I'm crying. I'm on chapter 21. Once I'm done with this, it means I have 11 chapters left. It makes me almost cry because I just saw how many words I finished with during the word vomit. Oof. Such a great feeling to be in, my friend. Such a great feeling to be in. My bad. Nice. I'm glad that you're able to kind of like push yourself and you're starting to make some progress. That's really, really awesome. Really, really awesome, my friend. That's so cool. Let's see, Maddie. Okay, so what you can tell us some. So I can tell you some. Basically, corporations now control the planet. However, the planet has been decimated by mana storms. Mana was released by the caps, melting, revealing ancient crystal structures that fragmented. The mana caused spontaneous mutation of unborn babies, which were born as different races. Ooh, that's interesting. That's a really interesting world, Wyatt. I am so intrigued by that. So you're kind of getting like a world full of these mutant type fantastical races, and you're using environmental effects, which led to this mana. So your magic, and you have a lot of elemental, maybe weather type world building. That's interesting. I'm really intrigued by it. Sounds like you have a really fun world. That's actually super cool. Are you still in the working on the first draft of your book, White? How far along are you? With Scarecrow, I'm currently in the middle of the second draft. I'm about 40% of the way through the second draft right now. Nice, Mary. Like, I need to flesh out my legend. Feel like I'm back almost at square one, maybe two. Mary, when you say legend, do you mean like the basis for like your magic systems and your characters? Is that kind of what you're thinking back? I mean, I wouldn't even say that you're back at square one. I would say like you've made so much progress, but the thing is with storytelling, and all of you guys can relate with this. The further we get into a story, the more we realize the story that needs to be told. So when we first start with a story, now, regardless of whether you like to go into it or you're an outliner, regardless of what style, we all start off with cool ideas, and that leads us to the writing process. The more we get further into the first draft, the more the writing helps create characters, ideas, world building, plots, whatever it is. And the more we write, the more certain ideas resonate. Now, with our writing style, it helps to build up some ideas. Now, the more we create, the more we realize, okay, this is a better idea, which is why a lot of the times the further writers get into their first draft, the more the middle and the back end of the story starts fleshing itself out, unless that writer is going back and doing a lot of rewriting. So with writing and rewriting, I always recommend to writers, like, don't too much incredible time rewriting the first part of the book. Now, if you're like, hey, it's unreadable, it needs to be fixed, I understand that. Um, but the problem I see is some writers, I'm not saying anybody here, just in general, what I've seen, some writers will spend so much time getting caught on rewriting early chapters that then they get distracted by life. Something crazy happens in life, then they stop writing, and then they come back to writing in a few months, a year, and then they keep being stuck in the cycle because then they have to restart and get themselves back into the process. I would much rather a writer gets a completed draft of their novel and then stop, take a break, and come back to it. So that way, the writer can be more efficient with getting through the writing process. So it's Kauffman's podium stand speech of the day. Oh, man. Nice, White. That actually seems like some really cool. It seems like a really cool world. I'm just like looking at your comments. My bad. Like, I kind of hate being this early in the story because I have a lot of ideas that I can't logically implement right now, like cults of other gods. Yeah, and I mean, my bad. I think this is why outlining is so important. This I always tell writers, like, using a story Bible to make sure that you have all the different elements that you really want to create in the series is important. And I think as long as you know the elements you're going to touch on eventually, I think it still gives you room to do a lot of foreshadowing. So you could foreshadow to certain things. Like, I am such a huge proponent of rereadability. I want the reader of anyone who reads The Last Scarecrow, I want them to always be picking up clues, get to the end of the book, and feel like that they could reread it and pick up more clues that they missed in the first read through. Now, they wouldn't have missed anything that was pertinent to understanding the core story, but I want there to always be things that they could get more out of additional reading experiences. Ooh, interesting. Why you're like your heroes are actually shades, people that pull off jobs for the highest bidder. Oh, that's cool. That's actually a really cool character arc. That's a really cool protagonist arc. Why I can tell you put a lot of time into developing the world of it. Mary, that makes sense. Like the legend of the crystals, where they come from, what the ultimate purpose is, how it will affect the ending. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's like a magic. So you're really trying to like flesh out the legend for the magic. which is so important. I mean, you guys see, like, I didn't even further flesh out my magic system till I had finished the first draft. So, I mean, it's totally understandable. But after I'd finished the first draft, you guys knew, and like I knew, I was like, the magic needs to be clear. In a world where it's about the magic system, the magic has to be so, so crystal clear. So, I need longer than 7 minutes. I know. I've gone back and forth on on how long the break times are. I kind of go a little over sometimes, as you can tell. But the problem is I only have so much time with the streams, and the longer the breaks, the less writing. So I was trying to find the balance of both. Why, if you wanna like chat more with the community, we have a Discord for the Right Now server. You're more than welcome to join. Which I guess that's what I'll do. I'll advertise. Let's say I don't have the Discord link pulled up. So for anybody who wants to join the writing community, who wants to interact with the other writers outside of the stream, come join us on the Right Now Discord. Let me pull up the link. For those of you on YouTube, it's already linked down in the YouTube description, but I'll drop it here. Perfect. So I'll drop it here in the chat. So anybody who wants to come join us, our Discord's pretty active. It's open to all writers. We have writers of all genres, skill levels, styles. You can come join casual conversation and just chat about writing. You can get feedback on your writing. You can see things that we're doing with the Right Now community. It's just a great way to network with other writers outside of our daily live stream experience. So that's highly another way I would recommend for those of you who want to connect with the community. So wonderful. I was like, let's see, did it post to? I was like, looks like I have to drop it. Yeah, I'll drop it right now. Discord invite. There you go. I just dropped it in Twitch as well. Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, what's up, Maddie? Madden the G. Always love, love, love new writers. I'm like, we've had a number of new writers joining us today. It's so cool. The reason I love having new writers join us is because we get to see different styles of writers. I am of the belief that I love the entire writing process, and the more styles of writers we have in a community, the more creativity, the more brainstorming, and the more it helps motivate each other when we're struggling with writing. Maddie or Mad Din, Mad. Mad. I was like, I like the picture, by the way. I would love to hear what type of writing you're working on, what your story is. Feel free to drop a comment. You are amongst many, many fellow writers here, my friend. All right. So on that note, let's get into the next writing sprint. We are at the 4:30 mark, which means that writing sprint number 3 is going to be our longest one. So we're going to up it by another 10 minutes and go with a 45-minute sprint. I'm about to hop into the next chapter. You guys will see me anytime I start a chapter in the second draft. I need to go into my outline and do some planning for the things I need to fix. You guys will see that on the screen. So come join us. I'll hop into the chat with you guys during the sprint. And got to change this to 45, and I believe in us. All right, so perfect, awesome. All right, beautiful, and I am all ready. So I'll throw up the music. Whether you are brainstorming, writing, editing, author branding, procrastinating, or doing anything of that jazz, come join us because it's time to write now. Looking like that. Up the entire um now it's playing music. Interesting. What I'm seeing on my end is it's kind of reception. For so after this is what the second stream where I've ever had a power outage. So on that note, I know we got pretty far today. We got about an hour and 5 or 10 minutes. So on writing sprints and on we got some good process progress today. But it looks like we'll probably have to call the stream a little short because it's just not realistic for me to stream from the phone, especially because we have a power outage. I think it'll just be too glitchy. I saw a couple of you guys pop into this at the end. You and Kat, I saw you guys pop in. Sorry you guys hopped in during this strange power outage. What I'd recommend, if you guys want to come join the community, come join the ReadNow Discord. The Discord link is linked underneath all of the YouTube descriptions. Yeah, Kat, I'm so sorry about that, my friend. But unfortunately, out of my control. So definitely come join us in the Discord if you guys want to come hang out with the other writers. I'll be back tomorrow with another daily stream as normal. Tomorrow is Friday, 2 Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully we're not dealing with power outages today. But after 450 streams of power, I've never done power outages. This seems not the worst. Thank you guys all for joining me today. And writing on that note, wishing you the best, and I'll catch you in the next stream. Take care, friends.